Mr. Leon Pereira, next question.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sustainable aviation fuels, SAF, which are produced from resources such as waste oil, can reduce carbon emissions by up to 80% compared to conventional jet fuel on a life cycle basis. However, it's important to note that today, sustainable aviation fuels are 2 to 5 times more expensive than conventional jet fuel. The Singapore government and industry players have conducted a study of the operational and commercial viability of sustainable aviation fuels at Changi Airport. The study presented options to integrate these fuels with traditional jet fuel at Changi Airport, such as at existing jet fuel facilities or at tank terminals in the existing supply chain. In other words, where is the most efficient way to integrate this within the supply chain for jet fuel? It also identified viable feedstock technology combinations for sustainable aviation fuel production in Singapore based on the availability of feedstock in the region, the cost, and the life cycle assessments. The report also suggested various options to facilitate uptake and production of these fuels in Singapore. Our agencies are reviewing the findings. Despite COVID-19, Singapore is also participating in the voluntary phase of the International Civil Aviation Organizations, or ICAO's, Carbon Offsetting and Reduction Scheme for International Aviation, which is abbreviated to COSIA. And this aims to cap the international aviation sector's emissions. The Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore and Singapore-based carriers, namely Jetstar, Scoot, and Singapore Airlines, are monitoring and reporting the airline's emissions under COSIA.
Mr. Leon Pereira.
Thank the Minister for his comprehensive explanation. Just one supplementary question. Given that we have a strong petrochemical cluster and given that some study has already been done on SAFs, is the government also looking at the possibility of Singapore becoming a production or export hub for SAFs, particularly as demand for SAFs may increase over time as prices tend to drop and due to commercial scale being achieved in the future? Thank you.
Nestle is already here. Nestle is already here. Yeah. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I thank the member for his question. Firstly, as the member would know, in our larger chemicals, petrochemicals ecosystem in Singapore, we already have players like Nestle who focus on the biofuels aspect. And I think that is an important part of our development going forward because we have always proactively wanted to anchor some of these more sustainable options as part of the broader fuel mix available in Singapore. Secondly, the member's point is well taken, and in fact it is something that our agencies are studying, how we can, in fact, not just produce these sustainable aviation fuels for our own needs, but also be available for export, as it were. In a manner of speaking, though, firstly, I want to highlight that the supply side of it is still constrained. As I mentioned to you in the study, one of the things we need to look at is how we can not just make it available in sufficient quantities, which in itself is a challenge, but also do so in a manner that is cost competitive. But I would add that I think it is something that we are focused on as part of the process going forward. Secondly, if in fact we are able to develop this in a very strong manner, then it's not just for Singapore-based carriers, but potentially other carriers who come to Singapore may also be able to use these sustainable fuel options, aviation fuel options. And therefore, that is also a manner of export. So long before we talk about physically exporting them to other locations, there are A, supply chain developments already taking place in Singapore. B, our focus is on cost viability and adequate supply. C, that once we're able to work on this and implement this, then it will be available to aviation players in Singapore, based out of Singapore, using Changi as a hub, and potentially also for the region. Thank you.